Hello and welcome back to the Comic Lounge. This is going to be a fairly short haul because I didn't really pick up a whole bunch this time around, obviously for like budget reasons. However, there's still again I just came back anyways from the shop, and it was a really awesome sort of graphic novel that they had there that I could not pass up on. So that's why right here I'm only left with at least 5 comics and one sort of graphic novel that I pretty much splurged a bit on. I mean, it's still a fairly reasonable price, but for the budget reasons, I had to grab it. It was definitely trying to keep things under $15. Yeah, still, these are still very cool. So before I get into any of these, I will see you after this. So, of course, if I should mention, the shop that I usually go to here in Sizzleville is the Highway to the Gaming Zone. So I don't have to keep that secret anymore. Hopefully, this probably gives them at least a little bit of a good boost for their business. But they always have some really cool stuff for the most part. Some stuff can be pricey, but eventually I'll find some really good prices on some ones that normally can be overpriced. But these are definitely some cool ones, so I'll just get into these. So you know that I usually picking up some Punishers, especially like the Punisher War Journal, especially the ones when Jim Lee was the artist for it during his run. So it is just very much something that I usually pick up, and it's always a plus when I find newsstands, and this one was no exception. Surprisingly, between this and the Direct, the newsstand of this one was actually really cheap. It was like what, $3? The other one like $5, just a little $2 more, but it's still a sharp looking copy, a very good high mid grade. But it is number 19. Again, this will actually be the final for Jim Lee on his run for Punisher War Journal. Eventually, he would obviously focus more on the X-Men stuff. So obviously that's the reason, but still, him and Klaus Janson is just perfect. So again, as you can tell, it's a newsstand, and it's again a really nice looking copy. It's not like a near mint copy because it still has some spine ticks here and there, but it's almost not very color breaking, so it still has some good look to it. It's still probably like a good 8.5, so a very good looking copy, maybe a 9.0, but it's still really good. So obviously for $3, I just could not pass it up. And speaking of newsstands too that I could not pass up, here we have is Grendel #1 from the first ongoing series. Of course, Matt Wagner. This would have been what precedes the original 3-comic mini from 1983, which goes for insane amounts of money. Anyways, it's super high value. But right here, this is the would be considered the first appearance for the second Grendel, which would be Christine Spar. She, of course, is one that precedes Hunter Rose from the original mini. But still, they had this there. This was actually priced at $5. They didn't have it boarded up, but it was in a bag. But again, what really caught me to is that it's a newsstand, and when you look online, this doesn't go for $5, maybe. But I normally see it, or at least as high as maybe $15 on eBay. So this was still a really good grab. It's still a good looking copy. I don't know if I could say it's near mint, but it still is a sharp as hell looking copy of Grendel #1. So this was definitely a good, solid grab. Very cool, by the way. Again, first ongoing series that is from like 1986. So that for like what, 1986 to like maybe 1990 or 91ish, somewhere around there. It went on for a pretty good while, like 4 or 5, at least 4 to 3 years. And so there you go. Now let's get into at least some cool ones or fascinating ones. Now whenever I see stuff from this sort of, it's like it would be like it's number 3 basically in the in this 8-issue limited series. But every time I see one of the used to see these at the shop, I always have like $5 at least. But I never really wanted to try and pay $5 for one of these, knowing that for how kind of divisive this limited series was. But when I finally found a copy that was for $3, and I think in better condition than those two, this was an easy grab. But what we're talking about is one of the most divisive stories from Frank Miller, and this was not like late period Frank Miller. This is not like late 90s, early 2000s or whatever, Frank Miller. It's not like recent day Frank Miller. No, this is like the height of prime Frank Miller. It is none other than Elektra Assassin, and it's number 3 in this series. And again, I found this for $3, and it's just got some very experimental and somewhat unique looking artwork from Bill Sienkiewicz. But this would have been like the height of like Frank Miller. This would have came out around the time he would have released the whole Dark Knight Returns story. It's still post, Daredevil and that whole Wolverine 4-issue miniseries. So this is still height of Frank Miller, and it's just kind of crazy how divisive this story is. But finding a copy, at least from this story, for like $3, this was a solid, easy grab for me finally. So I'll definitely be getting more of the issues in this series, but definitely is one I will be getting more and more of. So here and there, I will be getting some of these. So there it is, Elektra Assassin issue number 3 from the mini-series, the 8-issue series. Speaking of some more little mini-series, here we have is number 3 in this fairly sort of cool series. This is actually really more recent, like maybe a few or some years ago at this point. But there was a period where I was actually grabbing some of the Absolute Carnage like tie-in stuff because I was finding them for a fairly good price here at the shop in Susanville. But when I found out about this mini, I could never find them at this shop, but eventually they finally had gotten a copy in. Turns out it's the very last issue in this mini. But I'm talking about the Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool. Of course, some really cool Tyler Kirkham artwork. This was, again, a 3-issue mini, and the fact that I had this in my want list actually on, was it Legion of Comic Geeks or something like that? I had this at least all on for want, but they ended up getting a copy for like $3. Normally they're like $5 or $7, at least maybe 10, if depending on the issue, for any of these Absolute Carnage tie-ins. But yeah, I finally ended up finding one of these Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool, and it turned out to be the final issue in this mini. But it's still really cool nonetheless. And this was, again, this was like from 2019, and it was since that was during a period where I wasn't collecting comic books at all. I wasn't even into reading comics at that time. But still, it was a complete event that I had missed out on. But this was one I really was, of all those tie-ins, I've got like the Symbiote of Vengeance tie-in, and that was a fun read. So this is one I'm really looking forward to. So I'll definitely pick up the other two so I can really read this. So still really cool nonetheless. Now, speaking of some final issues in a mini, this one was a really cool one that I spotted. So this was, of course, would have been from today. It would be like Easter Sunday. But again, you're watching this on Monday, but Easter Sunday for when I'm recording. But what I ended up finding for $3 over here was the issue 4 in the 4-issue series for Cloak and Dagger. Again, the Cloak and Dagger's very first solo series, and this is the 4th issue, and it's a key as well. This is actually would be the origin for both Cloak and Dagger. So this was a really, really cool find. Again, as you see, this one I didn't yet get to rebag and board, but eventually I will. But yeah, $3 for this one was an easy grab. This is not a perfect copy by any means, I don't know if you will notice, but I think I will do it this way. But there's a slight sort of bit. You know what? I'll have to take the comic out. so I can at least show you better what I'm referring to. But there's definitely a bit of a spine bent on the comic here. It's not a spine roll, but it's more like a bent or something, but bluntness. So right there you can tell it's kind of, you know, sticking out. So it's not super flat there. It's still a sharp looking copy, as you can tell. It's very sharp. It's still a sharp, you know, looking copy, but that spine roll, if I ever own a presser, it actually could at least straighten that out. But still, for $3, I obviously couldn't. I know that's normally kind of a $3 or $2 grab anyways, but if I still in that price range, it was a solid one, especially in that type of condition. It's, you know what, I'll get it. I'll take it. Finally, let's get into the one that I was really kind of giddy about seeing, because I wasn't really expecting on like buying any sort of hardcover books or anything when I went into there. I was not planning on it, but this was sitting there. They had just put it on the shelf, and for $10, I could not pass it up. What I'm talking about is the Punisher Return to Big Nothing. This was the reuniting for the original team that brought to you the whole limited series from 1986. Would have been like what Punisher's very first solo series. So this was the reuniting of that team of Stephen Grant, Mike Zeck, and John Beatty. Again, this is an original, as you can tell. This is from 1989. It's a hardcover and not super perfect condition, but one that I would happily take it, because I've always been wanting to check out more of these, some of the Mike Zeck and Stephen Grant sort of Punisher stuff. So this is really awesome. Again, it's a great Mike Zeck Punisher pose anyways. It's really cool. And again, still everything's fairly nice. I don't know if I can go a little bit with the pages, but as you see right there, freaking awesome. I can't wait to check out more of this. Can't wait to check out more of some of this. Is really awesome. So this was a real easy $10 grab, so I could not pass that one up. So there you go. Punisher Return to Big Nothing. Fantastic grab. So there you go, folks. There's all the comics I picked up this week. So if you have any sort of comments on any of the stuff that I've, or let's say thoughts, all the stuff that I showed, you can all leave them in the comments section below. But if you like what you're seeing from this channel, if you could, or every time you even click on these videos and you see what you like, you see what I'm talking about, you like my enthusiasm, you like my personality, if you like any of these sort of traits that I portray in this channel and on these videos, please hit that subscribe button. It would definitely do me great, and it will do you great, because you'll never miss out on future new content. So with that, keep on reading, keep on buying, and keep on collecting comic books, everybody. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you again soon.